What's up, everyone? My name is Gaetan. I've been running ads and doing e-commerce for over 10 years, and this video is going to be completely about how to run meta ads. So without further ado, let's jump right into step one. You have your brand, which is either a product or a service that you want to market, that you want to sell more of, and that you are going to run ads for. Now, first of all, and this is like a step that is never talked about, if your offer, whether it be a product or a service, if it sucks, it's not going to be able to run well in meta ads. So make sure that your offer, the thing that you are offering, the product or the service, is of value and enough value to the point where people pay a good price for it. If you have that locked, then you have a chance of making it on Meta. If that's not the case, like you can't ship $5 Temu products anymore on Meta ads and be successful simply because there's too much competition. So that's something that you need to figure out before you want to start. Now, another thing that is never talked about in these videos, my experience, is the part where you do your research. Like, it's just so tempting to start right away and to get going with your to forego your research and start going and then blasting ads and blasting creatives and using Claude AI to generate 100 ad sets because it sounds so cool on TikTok. But that's just not how it works, at least not if you want to be successful. So do your research first. Now, your research can be done with AI. You'd be stupid at this point not to do it with AI. Let me zoom back in. You'd be stupid to not do it with AI simply because it's a very helpful tool and it speeds up a lot of the execution layers. So as a marketeer, you need to understand the results and the questions that you're asking, but you can use AI to speed up answering those questions, right? So what does your research have to look like? First of all, market research. Who are the competitors? Who am I bidding against? Who am I going against? And who do I have to beat? Because it's a zero-sum game, right? If you sell, for example, a bike, the customer is likely only going to buy one bike. So it's a zero-sum game. They either buy your bike or they buy a competitor's bike, right? Or they don't buy at all if all the marketing sucks. That can also happen. So who are the competitors and why would people buy with us versus them? What are the competitors doing well? Also something to think about. Do they have ads that we can steal? Do they have concepts that we can steal, right? Where's the gap? What are they not doing? What can we do better, either on a product level, on a website level, on an advertising level? Doesn't really matter. What can we do better that they are not doing yet? What is trending? Some brands might have trends that are worth jumping onto. Okay, so marketing research, very important. Audience might be the most important research that you are going to do because guess what? People are buying from you. It's nobody else. It's people buying from a brand, right? People buy people. That's what they always say in marketing. It sounds really cool. It's mostly true as well. So let's jump into audience, right? Who is their core customer, right? Age, gender, lifestyle, mindset. What makes them tick? What makes them buy? What are they looking for? Or what problem are we solving for that customer? Is it a valid pain, or are we solving the problem, for example, of aspiration, right? You don't buy perfume, for example, because you necessarily smell bad. No, you buy perfume because you aspire to be somebody that smells like you buy the transformation, right? If people say you smell really good or people have been commenting on other people, you want to get that compliment. You want to stand out from the crowd. You want to maybe aspire to smell like a certain celebrity, right? Aspirations can also be like, it's not always like an explicit problem. It might also be an aspiration. What their customer buys before and after them. Also a really important point that is often overlooked, right? More so like the transformation. If my customer buys the product, what transformation do we want in their life, right? Because we want ambassadors. We want them to feel happy about the product. Where their audience hangs out online, mostly this is going to run through your meta ads because meta has Facebook, it has Instagram itself, it has Threads, which isn't really that big, but it's going to figure out itself. So I'd spend less time on this. And then what their audience cares about beyond the product, right? Because that's really going to play out at scale. Once you found like your niche for the product, you're going to have to extrapolate and scale exponentially through other interests of that specific demographic, right? Next up, you have product, what makes it different, right? Benefits and features, as well as emotions, right? People buy emotions. Why people come back and buy again, right? Best sellers and why they perform. What customers say in reviews, also very important. And what objections come up before someone buys. This is one of the keys because you can take away the objections using your creatives and using your advertising. So this is really important. And then last but not least, the brand in itself. Whether it's your own brand or a brand that you are going to market for someone else, it's very important to align everything that you're creating, whether that be creatives, copywriting, tone of voice, the models that you use. It's very important to align it with the brand because the brand supports your advertising. If you have a weak brand, then your advertising is going to suck. And if you have a strong brand, then it's going to lift up your advertising as well. So never neglect the brand in itself. Like if people are doing, like the brands that we work with, if they are doing really well organically, it's going to lift up the advertising. Like one can't live without the other, but they can. There's such a flywheel effect between the two of them. So if you pay attention to the two of them, that's going to really benefit your advertising as well. So this is the research layer. Spend time doing this. Build your own Claude Code skill or agent, whatever, to do this automatically for a brand by scraping their Instagram, scraping their website. Doesn't matter what you do, but figure this out because this is going to be important. Once you've done this, time for step number 2. And step number 2 starts with budget. Why? Because a brand who has 100 euros per day to spend looks entirely different than a brand who has even 1,000 to spend, which again looks entirely different to a brand who has 10K per day to spend, right? So this is where it starts with. You can't really build a strategy for like one strategy fits all for a brand that maybe has $100 or 100 euros per day to spend. That just doesn't work, right? And it carries out on all fields across the marketing level. So the budget is really what you start with, because also the retainer that you can charge to your customers or the fee that you pay your agency, you are running the brand yourself, is going to reflect also where they can do the work and how much work they can do, right? So everything starts with budget. Next, once you have the budget, it's time to figure out a campaign structure, because your campaign structure and your budget go hand in hand as well. You could have a, built out campaign structure like this customer here, where they are spending multiple ad sets combined over 4 campaigns. So the campaign level nowadays with the Andromeda update and the way we are running ads in 2026, it's completely different than it was before. So mostly you have like 2 campaigns. I'm going to go deeper into that a bit later in the video, but it can look something like this, where you have prospecting audiences, where you have remarketing audiences, where you have your winners, where you have your creative packs all split out. They all have different cost per results, and you use that to scale, but all in a CBO budget. Or if you have completely, like this is for a week, by the way, so this is 1 week worth of spend. But if you have like a customer at 1/10 the volume of this customer, then you have something completely different. Then you have like one simple campaign based on a geo and based on broad targeting. And as you can see, they're only doing 37 sales at this moment per week, which like isn't full blown blast, but that's not like, that's completely fine. We don't only do like these huge brands who run like, what's this, 400 purchases every single week. you have to start somewhere, right? And maybe these smaller brands, maybe sometimes they're the most fun to scale as well because like they're not used to this type of volume. So it's really cool to scale them up. And as you can see, like the results and the ROAS with this brand are also like really good because they're not at scale yet, but this is like a lot of potential. I'm sure that we can scale this through 400, 500 conversions per week if we just keep on building it the way we are doing right now. So two very different setups, two very different campaign structures, entirely depending on the budget. Like obviously these are also different products, different audiences, but the way this is built out has only to do with the budget. So be mindful of the budget. Now, once you have your budget figured out and you find your direction that you are going to go against, this is basically the setup. It doesn't have to be more complex than this. Like everybody talking about like these crazy structures, mostly they don't know what they're talking about because the power of your advertising does not lie in campaign build outs, like in these really advanced setups. It has a lot to do with account structure, but the simpler you can keep your account structure, the better the algorithm is going to understand it and the better your results are going to be, right? So you have your campaign. Mostly a campaign is solely for a product or a category, right? Because you're going to have a CPA, you're going to have a cost per result, a cost per acquisition. And for example, if you're selling here a category which is bringing in an AOV of, let's say, 120, then this is very profitable. But if you have other categories that have an AOV of, say, 20, then this is like losing money every single time. So you can split products or categories via campaigns to have different CPAs, right? That's possible. You can split out different geos, right? If you're selling in the US, you're selling in Canada, you're selling in France, you're selling in the Netherlands. Mostly you're going to split that out by geo as well. And then you have, of course, your strategy, whether you're doing leads, whether you're doing sales, whether you're running traffic campaigns. And mostly it's going to be sales and leads because traffic campaigns have become a bit of a waste of money. There are certain situations where they still make sense, but they're getting less and less. So strategy, product, or geo, those are the three main rules to split up a campaign. Then you have your ad sets, which is what you see here. These are all my ad sets, which can be split up by mainly a concept. For example, you have a concept like we saw, like we are yet to see in the video. So I'm going to go to concepts, going to explain what concepts are, or a target, right? If you have a target audience, a prospecting for people interested in plants, then that's going to be one ad set. If you have a target audience in the same location interested in, I was going to say trees and clothing, for example, that's going to be another ad set. And then your creatives, you have basically statics and videos. This is going to be an important concept moving forward, but I'm going to explain it right now. Step 3, so once you have done your research, you have your budgets figured out, and thus your campaign structure, it's time to go down to your creative engine. And this is nowadays where the magic happens. So this is where you mostly put in the most effort, pay the most attention, because this is gonna decide whether you be successful or not. Like you can still get away with crappy campaigns and crappy ad sets, but you cannot get away with crappy creatives anymore. So step 3, creative engine. First of all, your strategy, right? You need a creative strategy. Which products or categories are you going to run first? Only once every blue moon, you're going to have like a store with one product, one product store where you could just, where you don't have to decide, right? Mostly it's going to be like on average, I think 100 SKUs, so 100 products in a store, and you're going to have to decide, right? Unless like the budgets are already really big, but this is mostly aimed at people, starting out or people looking to scale. So they're not going to have the budgets to cover the entire product category. So you need to make choices, right? You can pick one category, you could maybe pick two categories, or you can pick a bunch of different products, but you can't do everything at once. You can only do that at scale. So what mostly happens is you pick like the best sellers, the best selling categories, the best selling products, and then you keep like 20% of all your budget as you scale to test new product categories and to test new products, right? So decide on your products. As I said, mostly is best sellers. Pick the low hanging fruit and find new customers for those already best selling products or categories. Next, find your target. Where are you going to launch your ads? Who are you going to launch for? And think back to the psychology, right? What problem are we solving? What is the customer looking for, right? What is their psychology behind their purchase? So think of a target, right? Products, categories, and then targets. Who are we going to give these products, or who are we going to sell these products to? This all ties in to psychology. And your psychology is going to determine your creatives and your copywriting. So at this point, we've done step 1, based on step 2, based on step 3, based on step 4, and now we're going to make creatives and copywriting. So don't just like blatantly or shoot ads out of your, just randomly. Think about it, because this is going to be where the magic happens, right? So really think about it and say, which creatives are we going to make? And this is like also a key framework, I would say, of your psychology behind the ads. So I've listed a couple of them, but yeah, there's more than this. But let me just go through a couple of these to show you what I mean. Like, this ties into target, this ties into creatives, and this ties into copywriting. And they all link back to one of these psychology principles. Desire-based, right? FOMO, a really, really good driver for advertising, right? I'm missing out. Me not buying this product is causing harm to my life because I'm missing out something, right? Aspiration, sell the version of themselves. That's what I said with, for example, the cologne, right? Aspiration, you want to be somebody. I'm not buying the product. I'm buying the product to become somebody else, right? I want the transformation. I want the aspiration to be filled in. Status and identity, seeing Lionel Messi ball for Miami. The Miami shirts sold out instantly. Status and identity. I want to be like Lionel Messi, right? Dream outcome. Lead with the end result. Who am I going to be? I want to see myself like these supplement brands, right? Showing somebody truly very much in shape. I'm out of shape right now. I want to be like that guy. So I'm going to buy the product, not because I love the product, but because I love the outcome behind the product. Curiosity based, an open loop, right? Don't close the gap, like a cliffhanger, if you will. Really good in psychology. Contrarian, say something controversial and then work your way backwards, right? Very, very powerful. Myth busting. You don't need this, you only need that, right? You don't need to see a doctor, you only need this supplement. The secret, something that's very well kept, right? This works also in a bunch of different ways. You can lead with a secret formula, for example, that has now been exposed and finally commercialized. That's kind of a secret. Or a secret discount. Secret discount is also a form of psychology that is curiosity based, right? Enter your email address and you will receive 10% off in a secret room, right? Problem based. These are like the most obvious ones. Problem solution. Hey, you're fat. Let's lose some weight. Buy this product. Problem agitate solution. This is like making the pain a bit worse by really demonstrating it, showing it, really, pushing the wound, if you will, to hurt more and then resolve it. Before and after, a really simple one. This is you before, like you recognize obviously like these 50% split ads. You see like the before, and then you see like the after in one static video, or maybe it's like some of these that you also see, like in video, you have the before here and then you have the after there, which is also like really popular nowadays. Fear of staying the same, right? This is based on like your FOMO and aspiration, but it's the fear of staying the same. Like you want to stay lazy, you want to be fat, you want to, I'm sorry, I'm keep I keep focusing on the weight, but it's like a very would you say explicit one, like it's a very tangible example, so that's why I keep using it. Emotion based empathy, we understand how you, we had the same problem, right? Nostalgia, going back, pride, make them feel better, building a community, right? Being part of a community, relatability, right? This like mostly plays out in reviews, using review statics, review videos, UGC reviews, right? UGC testimonials. And then you have also things like trust-based, urgency-based, scarcity, consequences, momentum. This is where the magic happens. If you were to focus on nothing else in this video, focus on this one. And this really helps you to build out your campaigns. So what you're going to do here is you're going to pick one of these. For example, you want to go with the FOMO. You're going to create 3 different concepts of a FOMO angle. And those concepts are going to have maybe 2-3 ads, right? To start out, of course, you could chuck in 10 ads, right? But that only makes sense at scale. But you're going to chuck in like 2-3 ads per concept. You're going to test the concept. And if the concept is successful, you already know how to reproduce, right? It's just scaling down the losers or inventing like more of the same concept. And that's really what this all is about. You want a recreatable workflow that you could just push on and you could just keep on running more creatives without having to sit and brainstorm every single time, right? So that's really the motion that you're looking for. And then step 4, when you have all of this, when you have your statics, when you have your videos, when you have decided on the products and the categories that you want to run, it's time to launch. Mostly in 90% of all cases, unless you're doing lead generation, but you're going to run with sales as an objective. So you're going to launch your campaign. You're going to pick the sales objective. You're going to do campaign budget optimization. In most of the cases, this is better than ABO. There's a couple of situations where ABO is better, but I would just neglect them for now because they're very specific cases. The chances are that you are not going to encounter them unless your sales prices are very high ticket, right? If your AOV is like 1K plus, then it makes sense to do ABO simply because it takes a lot of time. But in all other cases, you'll probably look for CBO. You're going to build different ad sets. You're going to use broad targeting. Broad targeting means no interest groups to start off unless something is specifically meant for a certain group. For example, if you're selling products that are only allowed for females over 30 years, you're going to pick 30 years and you're going to pick female. If they're not specifically for a certain demographic, you're going to touch nothing. You're just going to leave it on broad. And then you're going to set one ad set per concept, and a concept is what we discussed here above. So you're going to have your campaign here, you're going to have your ad sets on broad targeting, you're going to do a concept here, so this is your concept 1, and then you're going to put in the statics and the videos that you made for that specific concept inside that ad set. Then you're going to duplicate this ad set, you're going to touch nothing except for the visuals. And this is concept 2. And here go the creatives that you made for concept number 2. And that's when you launch. And that's how you can run meta ads. I hope this video was helpful. I hope this video was very helpful for you. If I left something out that you want me to touch on or you want me to go deeper in one of the concepts, let me know. All feedback is welcome. And best of luck with your advertising.